Most officer-involved shootings begin with chaos, but this one, it began with a calculated script. A 911 call reporting a violent felony in progress at a $1 million estate.
Turn your siren off. You see if you can locate a phone number for this house and or the homeowner's name from that previous call. It doesn't look like I got any movement inside and no one's coming to the front door.
Deputies arrived at this White Plains residence expecting a hostage rescue. They found a masked subject pacing behind the glass. In the eyes of the law, this was a high-risk entry into a hot scene.
Hey, come here! He's got a mask on. He's got a mask on. Come here, now! Hands!
Listen to the urgency. At this moment, the deputies believe there is a victim inside facing imminent death or serious bodily harm. They aren't just looking for a suspect. They are racing against a clock that doesn't exist.
I got contact with him at the garage, inner garage door.
This is where the tactical manipulation begins. The subject, later identified as Jordan Proctor, isn't just being non-compliant. He's ghosting his hands, a universal red flag for any LEO. He is forcing the deputies to focus on a threat that he hasn't revealed yet.
Look through this window right here. Come here, man! Hey! Alright, I lost sight of him if he went back inside. I saw him for a second. He went over towards, looks like maybe...
Notice the tactical positioning here. The deputies are dealing with what we call the fatal funnel. Every doorway and window is a potential line of fire. They aren't just looking for a suspect. They are managing a 360-degree threat environment. In a high-risk call like a violent felony in progress, the margin for error is zero.
Come here! Come here, man! Come here! Hands up! Come here! I lost him. Look through that window. Come here, man! If you're there, come here!
Behind the car, behind the car.
Come here, come here, come here! Get on the ground now.
Just get on the ground.
Get on the ground. Do it now.
It's okay. Got him at gunpoint.
Got him at gunpoint in the garage.
Come here. Come here. Come here.
Sir, step out.
Come here now.
I don't want to hurt you. Just come out from behind the car.
Do it now.
I can't see his other hand.
Neither can I.
I don't have it. It's in his pocket still.
Come here now. Come from behind that truck right now. Huh? You need to come here right now. Okay, well, you don't want to do that. You need to come from behind that truck. You need to lay on the ground. Okay, come from behind the truck. You don't want to do that.
At 3 minutes and 23 seconds, a deputy requests to move up with a long rifle. In U.S. law enforcement tactics, the rifle provides a distinct advantage: ballistic accuracy and superior optics. They are preparing for a long-distance engagement because the garage, filled with vehicles and shadows, offers the suspect too many places to hide.
Move over, I got a long rifle.
Bud, would you just come out from behind this truck with your hands up? He's got something.
Good.
Signal 13, signal 13.
He's got a gun, headquarters.
You got coverage? Come here from behind this car, the truck.
Now, let's talk about the OODA loop. Observe, orient, decide, act. When Proctor emerges from behind that truck, the deputies have less than a second to complete this cycle. They see a shooting stance. Their brains, conditioned by thousands of hours of training, recognize a lethal threat. In this environment, waiting to confirm the weapon often means the officer dies first.
Okay, he's hiding behind the truck. He came out, pointed a gun at us, and tucked behind the truck.
Come here.
Any unit responding, just go. Do not tie
Come here, man. Come from behind.
Proctor didn't just stand there. He moved aggressively, presenting an object in a way that mimicked a firearm. This is a classic lethal gesture. In the eyes of the Maryland Attorney General, the deputies didn't shoot a man with a wallet. They shot a man who was intentionally projecting a lethal threat. Under the objective reasonableness standard, their reaction was a direct result of Proctor's actions. As the smoke cleared, a chilling truth began to emerge. The suspect, 30-year-old Jordan Proctor, wasn't just a random intruder. He was a man drowning in his own legal nightmare. At the time of this encounter, Proctor was out on bond, awaiting trial for a nearly identical crime he had allegedly committed earlier that year. Look at the patterns. In his previous case, Proctor was accused of trapping a house cleaner, threatening her with a firearm, and committing sexual assault. In his 911 call on December 20th, he reported the exact same scenario. He didn't just call for help. He projected his own crimes onto a phantom victim. In criminal psychology, this is a profound moment of transference, or perhaps a final, twisted confession. This leads us to a grim reality. Suicide by Coppa Proctor didn't just happen to have a wallet in his hand. He meticulously chose the location, the mask, the timing, and the shooting stance. He manipulated the deputies into becoming the instruments of his own destruction. He turned their commitment to protecting victims into a weapon against himself. After a comprehensive review, the Maryland Office of the Attorney General cleared the deputies of any wrongdoing. Under the Fourth Amendment, their use of deadly force was objectively reasonable, given the totality of the circumstances. They were responding to a perceived threat that Proctor worked tirelessly to make appear real. This case leaves us with a heavy question. When a suspect uses the law's own protocols as a trap, where does the responsibility lie? Was this a failure of the mental health system, or a calculated escape from justice? The evidence is in the files. The decision is yours. Watch our next breakdown to see where the line is drawn again.